You know, marketing a travel company is really pretty fascinating. It's actually a lot of fun. Some things are changing literally in the world of marketing by the minute with everything that's happening in the 2000s. I mean, things really have changed a lot. Swag is one of those things that, yeah, it's changed, but it's still the same thing. I want to walk you guys through what swag really is, why it's used, and why it's so darn effective with travelers on this week's edition of Travel Evolved. It's Travel Evolved. I'm Mark Holloway. Welcome everyone to episode 38, Swag. I have a tendency to pronounce that swag. I don't know why I do, but I just do. But swag, I'll probably do it 2 or 3 times during this episode. Been around forever. I don't think it's going anywhere, that's for sure. It just is one of those parts of our world, parts of our industry. I want to talk about it today. First, I want to, as always, thank you guys for subscribing. Thanks to you guys for listening to everything that we're doing. Again, the whole idea of what we've created here at Travel Evolved is we are attempting to kind of walk you guys through, a lot of the stuff you guys know. Today's episode is a really good example, but there could be some things in here that you may not have heard before, but we want to walk you through what we see on an agency standpoint. I've always said this, and I'll say it again right now. I think the more communication that happens between all parties involved, the better the whole industry becomes. And this is an industry that, in my opinion, the 22 years I've been doing this has kind of gone a little south, especially from our standpoint. I think everyone can be to blame for this, but it just doesn't feel like what it felt like 22 years ago. And I want to change that. And I think we're doing our little part. I think other folks are doing the same thing. You guys certainly are the ones that drive that change. So anyway, I want to talk about swag today because I think it is something that is worth having a conversation about. Swag, the definition goes back is it's money or goods taken by a thief or burglar. Not really what we're talking about today, but that's really how it came about. It was a term that was used a lot, back 100 years ago, literally. And now it's, of course, like many things in our pop culture, has gotten a life and a terminology of its own. The way we use it and the way most people do use it, I mean, obviously it's, hey, show me your swag. It's, show me all the glitter and glam you've got and how you wear your stuff and, a look you're supposed to present. But in our world, and for today's discussion, we're really talking about things that companies give you for thanks or for marketing purposes. And I think there's a big difference between that. And I want to talk about it and really walk you guys through what that is. I think that this industry has gotten to a point where, nothing seems to be given to you guys, or you guys don't receive anything, whether it's compensation, benefits, insurance, 401k stuff, without it still being where it costs you or it benefits somebody other than you. It's a really bizarre industry, but we have that in our industry where everything that you guys get is begrudgingly given to you, and if it is, it's by design because there's something else maybe where it's coming from. And you guys, again, know, those of you that are devout watchers and listeners to Travel Evolved know what I'm talking about. But at any rate, I want to walk you through this because I think it's this is not going to be the longest episode in the world because there's not that much there. But I think it was one that the team said, let's talk about that. And I said, yeah, I think that's a good call. This was back last spring in February or March when we were designing the cadence of these episodes. Said, let's throw it in here because it's just one of those that I think just needs to be brought up and broached, and that's what we're doing. So swag works. It works from a marketing standpoint. That's the first thing I want to say, and you guys should know this. It really does work. What is it? I mean, we're talking about when a agency primarily gives you guys stuff, goodies, junk, crap, things that are beneficial. It's not all junk or crap. That typically, qualify that, has information for the agency, whether it's a branding, a logo, a website, a phone number, something that says this company, our company, gave this out. People like free stuff. That's been proven through history, right? I mean, let's be frank. When you go to the grocery store and something is on sale, or you go to the other store, is it really on sale, or did they just put that price on there and it's less? What's the normal markup? Is it a less of a markup, or are you actually getting a good deal? You know, you never really know, but I do it. We all do. We all migrate towards things that are on sale. I've mentioned this before. I spend summers out in California, and there's literally like t-shirt shop kind of touristy trap places that for 10 years now, 12 years now, the same thing is on sale, has been for 12 years. There are stores that everything's on sale. Everything must go. We're liquidating. That store's been around for 6 years. So people go, it wouldn't, if it didn't work, they wouldn't do it. People go into that store thinking, hey, this place is closing down. I'm at this beach for, a weekend with my family. I better grab some of this stuff and I'll go there because they're going to close. Or it's something. So, I mean, we do, as a society, we like to get free things. We like the idea that we're getting something for free, whether it actually is or not. We love that idea. That's why it works. Swag is a very, very important part of lead generation for companies. I talked about lead generation a few weeks ago. This is kind of part of it. It's not always about buying leads, and some companies will be, act holier than thou and say, well, we don't buy leads, but they give away their swag all the time. It's the same thing primarily. You're buying someone's willingness to wear, walk around, use, hold, leave behind something with your logo on it. So there's some disingenuity to this that I just want to point out. Again, the obvious. And by the way, a little bit of qualification here. I'm not guilty of doing the same thing myself. It works. I will continue to do stuff like this when it's appropriate. All of us are. I'd be a moron not to. So I'm not saying that I don't do this and it's really bad for companies to put swag up. No, that's not the episode. The episode is, this is what it is. Open your eyes to it, recognize what it is, and be comfortable with it, or don't be comfortable with it. It's up to you, but we're just going to have a discussion as we always do. So it's a very important part of lead generation. I don't know a company that has any stability or any merit that wouldn't include some type of swag as a way to make sure that they are getting their information out, their brand, the ability to be able to connect with them readily. If you have a pen or a lanyard or a coffee mug that has XYZ company and a website and a phone number, think about what this can do. It's a conversation piece. Oh, I didn't realize you worked for XYZ company. Oh, I don't. I worked for them 3 years ago. All right, right then, that second, that new traveler just got an impression, which if you're looking about social media, that's a big buzzword. It's an impression of that company's logo, their name, something about them. It was free basically, because how many impressions did that coffee cup give out over the course of that lifetime? And some of the swag stuff is very, very lengthy in length of life, if you will, that it exists. Now, not to mention, if someone's interested and maybe you are still working with the company, and let's say they're doing a great job for you, well, how do I get a hold of them? Oh, well, it's right here. You can just go ahead and look at their website, which happens to be www.greatcompany.com, or you can call them right here, and here's my recruiter's name is XYZ, Jim Bob, whatever you want to call him. Super easy, super fast. This stuff isn't a one-time impression thing. So when a company sends out a coffee mug and says, hey, thank you very much for working for us and for joining us or starting to work for us, I want you guys to realize that, yeah, it's cool. You got a nice mug. Hope it's a good one. It's not some cheap thing that doesn't keep your coffee warm or keep your drink cold. But it is by design that the idea is you're going to be walking around with that, or maybe you're going to leave it in the break room at that facility for every other, and they'll adopt it, right, as a coffee mug that they're using in their break room. And every single person that walks in will be exposed to that logo, be exposed to that website, be exposed to that phone number for who knows how long. Again, I know you guys know this. I know many of you know this. For some of you, you're like going, oh, I never thought of that. But most of you go, well, of course I thought of that. And that's okay, right? So if you are accepting something like this, hey, use it. Use it for I want to keep my coffee warm, and I don't feel like traveling with a coffee cup as one of the yet numerous things I have to bring in my box or my boxes or my bins of stuff I bring. I got one for my company. It's awesome. It saves me from having to take one next time. I'll use this because it'll be my traveling mug. Who cares, right? But recognize that that's what it's designed for. And that's really the only point of this episode. It is designed so that other people will either ask you or see it or get involved. And for some companies, just that, what the industry calls top of mind awareness, or TOMA, that is a very powerful part of marketing a company. Whether you're branding it, whether it's a new company or a company you just want to have where people think about, hey, I have been wanting to travel for a while. I've been working in this unit and I've seen that cup, and I don't know why. Maybe I'm not even thinking about it, but I'm calling XYZ company or I look at the list of companies on the internet. That one popped up and I recognize it from somewhere. I don't remember where. It could have been from the coffee mug that you've seen for 2 years in your break room. It works, guys and gals. So it's part of it. You can get future customers out of it. It absolutely does good things for brand awareness if, of course, the swag is designed properly. If it's a pen, it's kind of hard to put a logo on there. It's kind of hard to really see things. And most people don't even look at the pen they're grabbing. Every once in a while you might, because you might like the way it writes, and you say, hey, I like that pen from XYZ company. So the purpose of swag is really not just something that has potential customers can take with them, but it's really about something that they want to use and either now or in the future. So really good swag is something that is reusable. I remember, again, you guys know I've been in this industry for a long time. 20 years ago, the go-to swag were lanyards, because everyone had to have one legally. It had to be able to be breakaway. They had to have retractable, one of those little nylon. I guess it's nylon. It's a string, basically, a heavy-duty string or a thin string that allows you to put your badge on there. It was the go-to thing, but those things broke. They were a little tiny wheel, as you guys know, with a little wind-up thing that had a retractable spring on it that would pull the thing back up. It didn't last very long. Maybe an assignment or two, depending upon if the patient got a hold of you or not, and depending upon how well you took care of it. So really good swag is designed to last a while. So I've seen people that have said, hey, listen, I've got pop sockets, the things that used to go on the back of the phone people used to wear to be able to be able to deal with your phone. Those were decent, but they oftentimes would wear out. Your phone is something you guys are using a lot. And so obviously when it's in your hand all the time, it tends to wear off logos and websites and that sort of thing. But it is, again, designed for something that's going to be used for a long time. So, promotional merchandise, it's an easy and really cost-effective way of branding, getting brand awareness or getting somebody to see your name and become familiar with your company. If you really think about it, a coffee mug, again, or a coffee, let's say a to-go canister. And I'm not talking about the real expensive ones, right? If it is designed well, it's on a good piece of merchandise and the logo stays on there, you buy those in bulk. So what looks to you like something that would be $10, $15, $20 oftentimes is 25% of that. If a company is big enough that they can afford to buy mass quantities of stuff, it's really, really affordable. Here's the other kicker I want to tell you about. It is a operating expense. So it is part of an expense. So it is 100% deductible when you are doing your taxes as a company at the end of the year. Is it free? No, you're spending the money on it. But it comes off your bottom line. So if a company's making a whole bunch of money, killing it, this is almost a no-brainer. It is relatively a free way to spend money so you don't get taxed on it and continue to get that TOMA and get familiarity with your company. It's really a remarkable way to do it. Now, smaller companies that haven't quite recreated that, it's a really great way for them to begin that marketing, but it's a lot more expensive for them because they don't have that extra money oftentimes laying around. So it's really weird how it goes, and I've seen both those things happen. I've been involved in that. Where do we decide to go ahead and spend some of our hard-earned money on branding our company? Those are tough decisions, and sometimes if you swing and miss on that, you can make a mistake on the type of swag that you purchase, and you're stuck with it, and you're like, boy, this didn't really work, and that was a bad decision. When you're bigger, you have the ability to be able to make some of those mistakes because even a mistake is still going to get the name out there in it. And if you have that extra revenue coming in off of that huge chunk of the pie that most companies are making, got it in again, always do, then it's an easy no-brainer to go ahead and purchase that swag and have it be part of what you're doing. It's just, swag is promotional. So let's talk about some of the different things let me separate the difference, if I can, between the swag I like and the swag that I don't like, but again, that I still do and have done for years and probably will again. Here's the swag I like. I like it when an agency says, thank you. Here is something we're giving you that is for you. There is no benefit for us. We are giving you a piece of luggage or a set of scrubs, and there's nothing on there that says you got it from our company. To me, that is, in my opinion, a really good retention tool for one thing, because I think you guys do appreciate that. I've been told a lot that you do. I think you also are smart to realize that it's not free. That luggage has come from the culmination of hundreds or maybe thousands of travelers that have a really nice bill rate and a really nice margin, made the company money, and they're kicking it back into to make you feel good. But I will say this, I do like the fact that it's not a promotional advertising piece. For me personally, I would use that product way more than I would with something with a name on it. I don't even use coffee mugs with people's names on it. I don't walk around typically with T-shirts or golf shirts that have a company name on them. Never have, never liked that. That's just my personal opinion. Some people are like, I don't care. It's a free shirt, and I like it, and it's great. And I like promoting my company because they're doing a good job. That's a preference. But for me, my personal opinion is that says more to me about thank you. This is truly something for you, and we really aren't looking for any kind of benefit except for you to think that we did a good job for you and are trying to make things right or trying to tell you how much we appreciate you, one or the other. I've done that with my current company. I've sent people scrubs and said, hey, thank you for going to work for us. No logos on them. I think that's better. But again, still, make no mistake, the reason I'm doing that is to one of a couple things, like I just said. Either to truly thank them for their business and hope that they remember that so that they stay and work with me again. Or it could be because, I remember one situation, the hospital kept delaying the start date. It wasn't our fault, but they kept delaying the start date. This was back a year and a half ago, I guess last year, when the start dates were so pushed out and the vendors were so behind that even an agency and the traveler could get things done, the vendor wasn't able to get the credentialing process through their side. So this traveler was like, I need to work, and they kept pushing the start date back. And so we sent some scrubs out to appease them. Totally transparent. I mean, that was what it was for. Thank you. There was no time for them to go look for another assignment, whether it was with us or another company. And we just felt like, man, this person needs something from us to say, we appreciate you hanging in there. So sorry this is happening. Really isn't us, but it happens. So those are kind of good things. If the scrubs come out with the company name on them, I like it less. I like it less for you guys, because it is what it is, as they say in the world. You are literally now a walking billboard for that company. And if you're a really good traveler or a really nice person, it goes further, right? If you're a crotchety, not a very good person and a terrible traveler in your specialty, and you're walking around with somebody's logo in there, it can actually be a negative thing. But for the most part, you guys are all really solid. You can't really travel without being solid. So the better you are, the better person you are, in my opinion, the more strength that logo and that impression that if you are working for this company, maybe I should try it because you seem to be happy, or at least it can start that discussion, which I think is 90% of the reason why you have it. So those are really the two different kinds of swag, in my opinion. And I like it when someone sends you something that's non-swag. The other stuff, typically we're going to talk about trade shows and conventions and that sort of thing here in a minute, which are swag festivals as far as I'm concerned. But when a company really does say, here's a piece of luggage, or here's something that's really beneficial, here's a pair of copper socks, whatever they have, the massaging socks that you can wear at home, or something you're wearing at work that are compression socks. I've seen those that don't have a logo on it. I mean, I think that's pretty cool. I really do. I think that's like, hey, I'm on my feet all the time. My company does this for travelers that are working for them, or started or extending, or been with them for a while. That kind of stuff, in my opinion, is really good for the industry, because it is a thank you. As long as you guys recognize, if you haven't seen it yet, the series we did called Nothing is Free. It isn't free. It isn't where they're saying we are going to go dip into our pockets and buy this. For most bigger companies, a swag or marketing budget is part of, in fact, of their budget. And like I mentioned earlier, if you're big enough, it is a no-brainer. It's almost free to do this sort of thing. So there you go. I want to read a quote from somebody that I'm going to keep it anonymous, but this is a pretty well-known traveler out there on social media. And I was asking him about this, and he said, I used to attend a number of such events, and I'll explain what they're, and still have some trinkets like key fobs, drink koozies, small day timers, etc., that I found to be useful. And every time I use them, I am confronted by the logo. Even though I don't do business with that particular agency that threw the party, as advertising, they're probably more far effective than most realize. So there you go. So here is a traveler who many of you know, who just said, don't tell me what I'm out there doing, but basically said that most people don't realize how effective swag can actually be, because here he says every time he uses one of those things with their logo on that, he is reminded of that company. It's an instant impression. It's an instant, reminder of XYZ company, and it does work. And he said most people don't realize how effective this stuff can be, and that's my point today, is that it is effective. So let's talk a little bit, if we can, about conventions. And I've been to many, and there seems to kind of be three types of people, I'll put it that way. There's the person that wants none of the stuff that you're giving because they know that in order to get this, they either need to, pretend like they're interested in your company, or they have to actually fill out some information and give that company your name and your cell and your email and that sort of thing. And we've seen those. Nope, I'm just looking around for, I actually am here at the convention to do convention things. Then there's a person that will, depending upon the swag, will pick and choose a few things that they might find useful, that they like, register for a lottery to win something that's cool, but they're not really out there to do what number 3 is, and that is to literally grab every single thing they possibly can. Sometimes 2 and 3 of the same thing. Everybody is different. This is not a judgment thing, but I don't know what someone does with 30 pens unless they take them back, and maybe they do this. This is probably what they do. Take them back and hand them out to their unit, which means they're the vehicle in which the swag starts working. They're putting that stuff out there, which is good. And again, it doesn't matter where you fall in this thing. This is not a judgment thing. There is nothing wrong with saying, yeah, I go out there and I get everything I can for free, and I either go back and pick and choose what I want, or I take it back to my facility, or I take it back to my friends, and I've got t-shirts and towels and hoodies from everything out there in the world, and I use them to rake leaves in the fall because I don't want to wear my nice stuff. Perfect, no problem. I just think you have to realize that that's the mentality for some folks. And I think what agencies worry about is, I don't want someone just taking my crap and giving it away. Well, you can't pick and choose how that works. So all you really can do is say, here it is, hoping that it goes into the right place and that down the road it actually is productive. But it really is. I mean, I've had companies that swag works for years, and you find out, yeah, had my shaker bottle, and I'm still using it because I can still see the logo on there. And I remembered I called you guys. So it really does work. Like we said, as a society, by the way, this is not unique to traveling healthcare professionals. You go to any convention in any industry, and from home security to outdoor gardening, there is going to be swag at all these things. And the idea is that you take home a pair of gardening gloves with some logo on it from some company that sells, backhoes or handheld, whatever, garden tools. They want you to buy their stuff, and you take it home, and it probably does work. Next time whether you're buying it specifically because you're looking at the gloves, or the next time you're in your garden center or you're online shopping, you go, oh, I recognize that brand, and you may not even know what it is that you recognize it from, but you've been staring at it in the back of your hand for 2 years every time you go pull weeds or whatever. So all kind of part of it. People like free stuff. I cannot get it, past you. But I wanted you guys to see and kind of hear what this is all about. This is, by the way, designed by very, very smart men and women who understand marketing really, really well. It is part of the process. It is part of how traveling works. You have to have all these things in place to attract you guys. And like I've always said, you guys are the commodity. So everyone is out there scrambling to figure out how to get you to come work for them. And swag is part of that process, whether it's, what they're posting on social media to, we can keep going on and on, right? the reputation of the recruiters and what is it they're saying and the messages and their texts that they're leaving you, right down to swag and what that looks like and how valuable you find it and how you got a hold of it. It's all part of a mix. And there are some very, very smart people that have spent their entire education learning how to attract you. And like I said at the very beginning of this episode, it's changing rapidly. The way to find you guys, as I mentioned on lead generation, is evolving really quickly. Swag is a part of it, but even swag itself, I mean, you look to see what good ideas are. Oh, that's a great idea. That's something that people will find valuable. That's something that people will actually use, and it will actually get the benefit that I am seeking as a company, as a CEO of a company. So I'm going to spend and be willing to spend the money on that because that's a better decision than maybe this one is. That's what they're doing all day long, trying to basically guess what things work and what things don't. But again, I've beat up swag a lot in my career because I just feel like it feels like another one of the sleazy parts of the industry that I don't care for, and I'll just throw it out there. And that's just my opinion. I oftentimes give my opinion whether you guys want it or not, so hopefully you listen because you actually do want to hear me say it. But there are a lot of parts of our industry that I just find kind of yucky. This is one of those, and again, guilty. I've done this. I probably will continue to buy swag for the times when I think it's important. My personal opinion is that I use swag for conventions and for what it is designed for because it feels to me like people know this is what we're doing. If I'm giving someone something that is a personal gift of appreciation, I do not put logos on. But that's my opinion. Here it is. If I'm going to get a really good cup. And I won't mention the brand names that we use because I don't want to give them a plug because they're expensive enough as they are I get up. But some people really love these, certain cups. If you get one of those from me, it's because, hey, I thank you. It's still not free, by the way. Nothing is free. I'm not giving that for free. It's part of our marketing process, right? But it is write-offable. It is deductible, not write-offable, deductible at the end of the year, which means after we figure out our cost of goods sold, here's all our expenses. That's part of it. All marketing. I don't care if it's even, some people can even take, going out and having someone redesign a logo or whatever. All that's part of the deduction before you get to your bottom line as a company, which is what you're actually getting taxed on. So for many companies, you have a budget you have to spend on marketing in order to make sure that that bottom line isn't so thick that you are actually going to get taxed more on it. Why not spend some money to attract even bigger crowds to your agency next year? Because you need to spend it anyway. So it's all kind of part of it. But I think that's what my problem has always been with swag, is that it feels like it's just another thing that is so obviously out there. And by the way, we're not alone. There's a lot of industries that use swag, that it feels that way. It's just all look at my company and look at this and please come work for us and we're going to throw stuff out there. It just feels very 80s to me, but it still works in 2022 and it will continue to work in 2022. All right, a couple years ago, I want to take you guys back a little bit. A couple years ago, I guess we'd say January of 2020, we were just starting to kick off a pandemic. Most of us didn't even know it was happening. And many of you, or most of you, I think, were in that same boat. Didn't necessarily know what was happening unless you happened to be involved in an area where it was being affected as far as your specialty goes, and in an area of the country was also being affected heavily. Meanwhile, I am miserable. I'm just telling you that right now. I am miserable. At the time, I'm working for a company that I wasn't thrilled with, a small kind of mom and pop company. I'll talk more about it later. That's not really for today to talk about, but I wanted to tell you that a couple years ago I was miserable. So first of all, on a personal note, for anybody who's going through a tough time, and I've been through a few, you get out of it. You work yourself out of it. So do that. I don't care what you're going through, personal, business, career. Things change. Things move on. Even when you think things can't get better, they do. We're human. We have ways of figuring things out. And everything I will tell you guys in the next couple of years that occurred was, in my opinion, by design to get me where I am today. So this is not a whatever for me. I want you guys to recognize that the same thing happens to all of us, no matter how bad things seem to be. They're really not that bad. We have the ability to change things. So I was miserable, by the way, a couple of years ago, completely miserable. What I realized was that the industry itself It was the same thing with every company. I was really glad, and I still am, incredibly blessed to have seen firsthand the things that I had believed in were happening in our industry. And I treat it as a gift, and I'm so lucky that I was given the opportunity to see that gift. What I saw in our industry was a microcosm of what bigger companies all do. It's all the same stuff, guys. When I tell you this, it's not because I'm just guessing. I have worked for a couple of companies early on and relatively recently that I'm like, wow, this hasn't changed in 20 years. It's just the same thing, regurgitated. And this happened to be a very, very small kind of mom and pop type company, and I realized why they were very, very small mom and pop, because they were making it good money, making good money for them, a lifestyle business. What a lifestyle business is a personal business that allows the people that own it to become wealthy-ish, and that's all they want. It's not about employees. It's not really about external employees. I mean, it really isn't. I mean, I'm not trying to beat anybody up, because it's not. It is a category, and you can look this up, lifestyle category, where we're going to figure out how to make our lifestyle the way we want it to be and retire where we want it to go. The problem with lifestyle companies is that, and there's a ton of them out there, by the way, there's hundreds of lifestyle companies in our industry, is that there's no vision for how to improve the industry, how to make things better for everybody, including themselves, but typically for the traveler. It's not about that. Everything in a company, and by the way, big or small, so it's not just small companies, it is big companies, is specifically designed for the owners or shareholders of that company, period. And I was lucky enough to see that on a really small scale and say, wow, this is the same thing. And I know that because the company was 15 years old and hadn't grown at all. Matter of fact, it was doing well at the time, but it was basically the same model, up and down, very little, put it this way. You guys know I have a new company, a newish company out there, and we have more people working for us than that company did at the time, and they would have been around for 15 years. So that's fine. That was what their model was. It was a lifestyle business designed to just duplicate what everybody in the industry already knows, and that's what you guys see out there. There are literally hundreds of companies that staff travelers. There are, and more every day, less every day when they go and they change or get out of the industry. And if you really look at them, what I was seeing a couple of years ago is it's all the same thing. Slight variances on margins, which means how much of that bill rate each company wants to take. Slight differences in maybe impressions, slight differences in training or the face or voice of the company, depending upon the recruiter model that they were utilizing. Difference in commissions. Certainly differences in potentially the types of jobs they were going after, the types of facilities they work with, what their premise was and what their main business would be. But if you really look at it, it's all the same thing. It's a big bill rate. You go after that. You carve out what you feel you need to make as an agency, and then you have the rest left over, and you go out and you try to sell travelers to take that through you based upon what you have to work with left money-wise of that pie. That's it. And it's, by the way, it goes all the way from Miami, Florida to Seattle, Washington, from Bangor, Maine to San Diego. It's all the same thing. And I kept looking at this going, what is the difference? And when you guys see me and when you hear me talk about things, this is what I find so fascinatingly interesting about our industry, is that what has any company done to try to differentiate themselves or actually to change or evolve the industry? And the answer is nothing. Nobody is, because it works. It absolutely works. It's making them money. You guys don't seem to mind. You guys seem to enjoy the model. Hey, I get it. All I'm going to do is kind of compare companies, and either I'm going to get sold by a really clever recruiter, or I'm going to take the company that makes the most money, or I get the best vibe from. I don't know what goes on in all your heads, because everybody's different, which I always say. But it's basically you are filtering through companies that do things exactly the same. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me a company that does things really different. There are a few that are starting to, so I think you could come up with a few. May not be your cup of tea, but there are some that are trying to change the way things are going right now. But if you really look at the hundreds and hundreds of companies, 98, 99% of them do things exactly the same way as the other companies do. And that is to somehow attract you into, their world so they can sell you on taking the jobs that most companies all have through them. That's the goal, and that's the gig. I'm not saying anything that you guys haven't heard me say a lot. But this is what I was going through a couple years ago. I'm like, I was really, really frustrated because I didn't see where this was going. I mean, not just me, but the whole industry itself. I'm like, what are we doing? There is nothing that says, how do we build a really solid business by also helping travelers too? Because I always felt like that. And anyone that knows me and knows my history would know that one of my biggest things has always been, if you've had a better product, in this case an agency, wouldn't people come to that company? Wouldn't that be a smarter, more sensible way to build a company than trying to just outsell on either a good or bad margin? And obviously the bigger the margin, the less money you guys make, the harder that sales job is. There are companies that successfully do that every single day, really, really well. And they've gotten to become monsters out there by doing that very thing. So it does work, but I've always felt like, boy, life would be easier if you could figure out how to benefit a traveler faster. People might come running to you, but then you've got to figure out how to get that marketed. How much swag are you going to have to put out there for people to start recognizing who you are? So it's a complicated thing. The industry needed to evolve 2 years ago. I'd been thinking about it for a while, but because of the situation that it was thrust upon me, or I thrust myself into, whatever way you want to put it, and I'll talk a lot about this in detail coming up here this spring and fall and or spring and summer for sure. I realized the industry needed to change, and I didn't know how to do it. How do you change an industry that none of the agencies want to change? And that's none of my business, but certainly none of you guys were demanding a change. And I think that's what I want to leave you with today. How do you change an industry where the target market, you guys, don't seem to really be concerned or maybe even realize that the industry could change because it's the way everyone does it? I think that was the struggle, and that's what everyone gets into. And this is what happens in our industry, guys. I've told this before, I'll say it again. What happens, and it happened a lot last couple of years, is when agencies get bigger and the principals in that agency start making a really huge amount of money, we're talking millions and millions of dollars a year, off of you guys, it's the way it goes. The higher ups that are maybe not owners, but maybe are slight or small owners, or are saying, why am I making, yeah, great, a better salary every year? They're trying to appease me, but I know this industry now. Couldn't I go out and duplicate this model and be that person that's making the tens of millions or the millions of dollars a year? And the answer is they can, and they've been doing that for 3 decades. And so that's what they do. They all let's get together, let's leave and go form our own thing. And again, here's the problem they go into. Let's either say we are or try to pretend we're different, but the fact is they get right back into the exact same model that they saw was successful. And again, you guys are okay with it. You may be following that recruiter or that director of client services or that account manager or the vice president because you liked him or her, and now you realize it's the same kind of thing, maybe a slightly different margin, maybe better margin. But the overall model is the same. That's how this industry has gone from being a very, very small niche back 30 some years ago, to the best of my knowledge, to what it is now, and that is literally cookie cutter models of agencies all over the country of different sizes in different states with some slight differences maybe in contracts, but not very much. And if they don't have them, they're going to get them. So eventually it isn't. Trying to make their way and all vie for their percentage of business from you guys that they're trying to get. And how do they do that? And they do it by a lot of hard work and a lot of phone calls, a lot of texts, a lot of emails, a lot of marketing and swag to get you to come to work for them. So I just wanted to put you guys in my head a couple of years ago. It was pre-pandemic, but it was interesting because I finally said, why are we still doing the same thing? And maybe it's the answer I was wanting and willing to recognize was because it's going to be this way forever. It's not going to change. And I was really willing to accept that as an answer. But there was something driving me that said, we've got to figure out a better way to do this. And there has to be something that could improve the whole idea. So I started putting my head together. How do I change an industry that doesn't want to be changed? Guys, as always, I appreciate it. I'll catch you next time on Travel Evolved.